How do you start your day? Maybe it's at the sound of an alarm clock, catching up on messages on your phone, or getting a head start to the day's to-do list. No matter how you start your day, I want to invite you to read the scripture with me. It's found in Psalms 143, verse 8. As I read it, I saw two interesting requests. David asked to hear of God's loving kindness in the morning, and he asked for direction. Now, what is loving kindness? I looked it up and it has several different meanings, including faithfulness, goodness, and mercy. It made me think about how the day maybe might start a little different with a request to hear of God's mercy, to hear of His goodness, to hear of His love. How much more full would we feel getting started on our day in the places that we live, work, and serve, having received and being reminded of God's loving kindness? The second request within the scripture was for direction. And it reminded me that all of us need direction, whether it's how to get from point A to point B, or being able to answer all the hows, the whats, and the wheres that come up during our day. Considering this scripture took me to another scripture found in Mark chapter 1. And within the scripture, many different events happen, but the one that ties into this specific scripture has to do with how Jesus spent one day. We first see that Jesus is teaching and does ministry throughout the day that extends even after sunset. The next day, he wakes up early and goes to a quiet place to pray. And when his disciples find him, they tell him that everyone is looking for him. And Jesus' response may surprise you. Instead of him saying, okay, why are people looking for me? What needs to be done? How can I help? He actually says that they're going to go to the next town, and he talks about purpose. As I read this and reflected on it, it took me back to how Jesus started his day in prayer with God, and David's request to God to hear of his loving kindness in the morning. It reminded me that our hearts are so in need of direction, but they're also in need of just hearing and being reminded of God's loving kindness and how anchoring that can be in our life. So it brings me back to the original question. How do you start your day? I believe that our hearts are so open to direction, especially in the morning. And these scriptures, I believe, can invite us to consider how our morning could look a little different. So I invite you to read Mark chapter 1 and Psalms 143 and ask God, ask Him to show you what He wants to teach you through these scriptures. That's it for today. Be blessed, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.